Hello, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of the Tech Shift F9 podcast. I'm Maurizio, your host, and this is the podcast where we talk about career transformation and career progression in the age of technology. And this week, I have an amazing guest joining me as usual. His name is Paolo Durante, and he's the CEO of JCube. And JCube is a kick-ass software company that develops SaaS for 3D, CGI, VFX, anime, and cloud-based solutions for the Internet of Things. Ciao, Paolo. Welcome to the show.
Ciao, everybody. Ciao, Maurizio. Thank you very much for inviting me. And yeah, you're absolutely overly kind on your description, but thank you very much.
Now, Paolo, I love your profile. I love to see Italians like me doing great things in technology, particularly overseas. Because I know it's doubly hard to do something like that in different countries. So, Paolo, tell us a little bit about yourself, particularly maybe with your education. You didn't really have a linear path, right? Tell us about your background, your interest in visual effects, and how did you nurture that interest?
Okay, so yes, I definitely didn't have a linear path. I was born in a family that was doing furniture design and production. And so I was kind of exposed to design and product design and furniture design and architecture since I was a very small kid. So I remember I was browsing catalogs and books about architects when I was small, like 5, 6 years old. So I always liked the aesthetic part of things in general. And for me, the school path was completely non-linear because I was reasonably okay in pretty much any subject. So I was not really shining on anything special. And also I didn't really care too much about school. I liked to be outside in the mountains or doing sport. I mean, anything except, at home studying. But in general, I always managed reasonably well. When I finished the Lyceum, I guess is in English,
High
liceo in
school?
Italian. Yeah, the high school. I was not really sure what to do at the university. So I was like, I remember I was very interested in biotechnology and in informatics, and but also liked architecture. So it was like humanistic and scientific at the same time. And unfortunately, I opted for engineering, informatics, and I remember when I joined, we had to do the entry test. It was the last year that you could do the 5-year study path at the university in Italy. Then they
Right.
switched to two plus three or 3+2. I don't
Three
remember.
plus two, yes.
3+2. So and when I did that, well, basically, I mean, I will be super honest. The first day I went into the Padova informatics class, we were like, it's a huge class, maybe 500 people. People were sitting on the window sills.
Ledge, right.
Yeah. And I was like, oh my God. And I basically was surrounded by a gazillion of nerds. I was like, this is not for me. I mean, the professor didn't even open his mouth. I was just looking at the environment. I was like, this is not for me. So I did a couple of exams, and then I switched. My idea was to go to something called material science, which is a bit of chemistry and physics combined. I could not anymore switch to biotech because biotech, although I passed the entry test, it was a super experimental class with 25 people, so I could not switch back. It was gone,
Right.
that option. So I decided to do, basically, I just checked where my friends were going. And one close friend of mine was doing geology, and I saw that the first 1 year or 2 years were the first year was in common with pretty much every science, math, physics, chemistry. So I switched to this geology class, and I did it for 1 year, and then I switched to material sciences, and I did a couple of years there. And at the fourth year, I basically found a job by buying a software called Maya, and included in this software there was a support contract, and basically I was sending so much requests to this Alias Wavefront, which was, by the way, a top company in the world for 3D. And yes, basically they contacted me. My mom picked up the phone and was like, Paolo, there's somebody speaking in English. And I said, okay, I'll pick it up. And basically they told me, if you just come to work with us, so you stop bothering us with all your emails and bug
I love that.
reports and ideas. Yeah, it was really funny. And so I took the job and quit university. I remember my family were very disappointed about this, but
Of
it
course.
was a very, very good opportunity in a real
Uh,
company. So
and
uh,
that job took you straight to travel in different countries and take on projects from all over the place. And
yes,
you're
yes.
coming from a fairly small area. I wouldn't say rural area, but fairly small area in Italy.
No,
So,
no, you can definitely say rural.
okay, didn't mean to be, rude, but so what were some of your biggest challenges early on in your career?
Okay, so it's really fun. I think I didn't have any challenge. The biggest
Wow.
challenge was being able to fluently speak in English, which took
Okay.
me probably 1 year. I mean, I was very good in written written English reading, and I always read in English, so it was completely fine for me. But speaking was a bit. I sounded a bit ridiculous. Probably I still sound ridiculous, but yeah, I remember the first year was a bit. I had basically to learn. I was watching a gazillion of movies with subtitles, like two every night. So in order to uh, understand as fast as possible, and I think that was the only real challenge. Uh, the
That's a
rest
big one.
was fine in a way. I mean, work is work, and you learn by doing. You don't learn by studying; you learn by doing, in my opinion. So I was
Oh,
working a lot. I was working probably 14 hours a day or 12 hours a day. So I was basically always working. Sleeping
fabulous.
very little. Yeah,
And
but
you're
no big challenge. Just a bit maybe disappointing to hear, but yeah, just the
no,
language.
no, it's reassuring. And the fact that you sort of found your path through an interest that you had, right?
Yeah.
And although you weren't necessarily planning for it, but it sort of happened. That's very reassuring. But you continued your work at a company called Mental Images, if I'm right, which is now part of NVIDIA.
Yeah.
What were you looking for when you decided to change, and how did you evaluate that opportunity?
A bit unconventional. So I was working before switching to mental images. I was working for this company called Alias Wavefront, which now is part of Autodesk. And when I was there, I started in the European division. Then I moved to Canada, and mostly because they closed the European office during the basically this company went through multiple transformation. Um, they closed the European office, so I went to Canada. And but when I was in Canada, I was put on a project which was not mega exciting. As a matter of fact, I remember they asked me when this project started what I thought about it, and I told this guy, I think it was called Thomas Ehrman. It was a nice guy. I didn't even know who he was actually, but I told him this project is never gonna work. It's basically, I think I even told him this sucks. And this guy replied to me, I'm the product manager. I was like, oh my God.
Gosh.
Okay, but anyway, the project didn't really went through. So I was right on that. And but then we had some family issues in Italy, so I prefer to be in Europe. So since I became very famous in the company because of the rendering software Mental Ray. I was basically a super expert on that. I decided maybe I should. I mean, the only company that I know that does things that I already know is mental images in Berlin. So I basically went back to Italy, did some, I don't know, some time off, and then I basically took an airplane, went to mental images without sending any email. I just went to Berlin, went to the address which I found on their website, knocked at the door basically, and
Wow.
I basically said, hi, I'm Paolo. They knew me because I was famous because of this. I was like a YouTuber before YouTube. I mean, there was no videos. I was just making a blog with technical information. And they made a couple of DVDs at Alias Wavefront about how to use Mental Ray. which I basically made 100%, and they were just selling them. And by the way, they made a lot of money out of it. I found out only later how
Oh
much
wow.
money they were
You
making
should
with
have
these DVDs.
you
And I
should
was
have got
like,
some copyright on that.
no, no, no. The contract was their stuff. I remember they paid me $10,000 for each, and I was very happy. Although it was probably 2 months of work to do one, but it was extra money. But then I figured, a girl was Danielle, I think, told me many years later, Paolo, the second DVD made over $1 million. Oh my God.
Oh wow.
So anyway, lost that. And so when I went to Berlin, I basically knocked at the door, and I basically asked them for a job. It's like, hey, I would like to work with you in some capacity. And the boss of that company called Rolf, Herken, he said, well, we have no position that you can cover. You're too weird, basically, to me, to fit in any of these positions. So, because I'm basically half a product developer, half a developer, half a graphics guy, a guy that can make pretty images, guy that can communicate with the customers, it's kind of a strange, a bit sales even sometimes. So basically said, okay, we'll just create a special division called special projects and put you in another guy. Basically, I was doing something that is called technical sales, and also how do you say, very deep analysis of competition products, which I did probably for over a year. And I learned everything about every renderer in the market. And so that's why I decided to go to work for Mental Images. It was mostly a proximity reason. It was near Italy, where I wanted to be when
Sure.
I could, and it was kind of covering my area of knowledge. And then I went. So that's why I went there. If that answered the question.
Oh, it definitely does. And I love the spirit that you had just going out there. And obviously with your background of relevant information experience, but no, not to be shy, right? Because nothing comes to you unless you go and look for it.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
yeah. If you are shy, it's very, very hard, I think.
oh, totally. And you did that for a few years, and then you decided to set up first Jupiter Jazz in Hong Kong, and
Yeah,
then JCube, the company you run now in
yeah,
Japan. You've always had that entrepreneurial interest. And by the way, you're the second Italian from the Veneto region, highly entrepreneurial in technology that I've interviewed recently. So I wonder if
no,
there's something special in the water where you guys are from. But what
there's no
was the
water where we come from. It's mostly wine there.
there you go. What
No, I don't know this other guy. I should know him though.
was your journey there to think about your next step as an entrepreneur rather than as a company employee?
Okay, so basically when I was working for Mental Images, I started not liking what we were doing, how we were doing, etc. So I basically decided to quit. Actually, I quit mainly because I made a huge sale for the software. So they sent me to China, Japan. I mean, during this period, they made me travel everywhere, which was fantastic. And but yeah, I made a huge sale here in Japan in a company called Square Enix through me, and I didn't get not even a thanks, but I mean, even a thanks would have been sufficient, but no thanks, and of course, no sales commission. And because I was not a sales guy, so I guess that they were their justification, but they really pissed me off. And I also knew that the company was going to be acquired by Nvidia, and I don't like to work for big companies. The bigger they get, the less interested I am, because I despise meetings and blah blah blah. I'm not interested. So I decided to basically started doing some consulting because I had so many contacts and people I knew that I could rely on if I needed to do something. And so it was, I did a couple of years like that, and it was going well. And then, of course, the 2008 crisis, 7, 8, 9 actually happened. So there was absolutely no work whatsoever. And therefore I decided to go to windsurf 1 year in Egypt. And actually it was
Nice.
one month, but got extended to 1 year. So I basically windsurf every day. And the more I was windsurfing, and the more I was not working, the more I was thinking about, oh, what should I do after I finish this windsurfing? And when I remember when I was there, I was watching a lot of movies from Hong Kong, like the Hong Kong cinema from the 1990s. Was really cool. Um, so I was watching those flicks, and I was like, wow, Hong Kong looks really amazing. And then, of course, I knew that in Hong Kong you could open a company very easily, and also tax are zero. So I went there. After this trip, I just went to Hong Kong. I had some resellers that I knew from the earliest time. So I basically, again, knock at the door. Hey, hi. Ivan is still a very good friend of mine. Ivan Lee at Jadison, and I just basically went there, and then he put me in contact with the company, with a place where I could open easily a company. And that was amazing because I went to this office. It was like a small, tiny office in Hong Kong, full of paper with two guys inside. And I said, hi, Ivan sent me here to open a company. And this guy I opened it with a friend of mine that I met on the internet. We were both, complaining about the same things in the rendering market. And the funny thing is that the guy opened the company same day, and I went out of the office after 30 minutes because Hong Kong was super efficient with the credit card, with the bank, sorry, card for my company with the name on it.
Amazing.
I have no idea how I did it. It's really weird. So yeah, basically opened a company in a nanosecond, and we started doing software, a little plugin for VFX, which was very, very ahead of time. It was called Atomcraft. And yeah, and we started selling it and having customers telling us what they needed and things like that. So that was basically, after several years working in corporation, you want to do it yourself.
Right.
You want to see if you can do it yourself, or you think you can do it yourself, and therefore you try. That was
That makes sense.
the decision to do that.
What's interesting, Paolo, is you took some time off to recharge your batteries, I suppose, right? And to plan what you really wanted to do. And sometimes we may not do that. It's not easy to just take the gas off the pedal, and say, look, actually, I need to reassess where I'm at, where I want to go.
No, you're absolutely right. I want to say I did that, and I didn't really I didn't take the time off with the purpose of finding something else to do in the future. It was literally like, okay, there's nothing to do because the market is dead. And instead of, hammering a nail constantly, I just decided to, do something else for a bit. And I think that the main reason why it's, as you say, it's very hard to remove your foot from the accelerator is because the whole world works with the idea of constant growth. Even the whole stock market and finance works based on growth. And I don't know who said that things should grow all the time, because stability is totally underrated. I mean, you don't have to grow. Grow actually, it's not good for many, many things. Reaching a good equilibrium should be the target, but constant growth, or even little constant growth is good. Like a good old dividend stock that doesn't move too much, but you can totally rely on it. But yes, this exponential growth, usually exponential growth is the preamble of exponential collapse, right?
Right.
These graphs, they go parabolic, it's time to sell. I know many people that they go in there, it's like, whatever. I find it insane, but you can apply the same logic to life. So yeah, nobody said that you have to work all the time. Nobody said that you cannot remove the foot from the accelerator. And sometimes it's important to stop doing, so your brain can, eliminate all the noise and bullshit and all the things that you don't want, that you don't know, that are actually damaging you. And then what stays is what is really important, or what is really the things that you want to see and you don't see because there is too much noise.
I couldn't agree more. Another interesting aspect of your career is the fact that you've quickly got from a fairly traditional situation. You come from a good town in Italy, go to university, and then you get thrown into international software companies, moving about, projects all over the place. Then you start running your own company. So to me, that means you've come across all sorts of people, either working with, working for, or they're working for you. And on that aspect, like in terms of managing people, being with people, are there some lessons that you've come up in your experience about hiring people, about working with people that perhaps you weren't aware of when you started your career?
Oh, yes, for sure. I didn't know nothing, of course, about this. So I have, let's say, I have regrets of many things that I've done that I could have done better for sure, and um, that you can only do by experience. So I think that's probably why in the States, where actually failing a company is considered completely normal,
Badge of honor.
people serially keep trying, because if you keep trying, okay, you will make new mistakes for sure, but you will not make the ones of the previous company. So I think that that's a very good thing, and that maybe it's probably the best thing about the US logic of business, that maybe the rest of the world should also try to embrace. But in terms of people, well, I learned that I of course understood that it's great to hire people that are much better than you because you can learn from them, and the few people that, not because I'm good, I'm actually not so good, but the few people I had the luck to hire that were really good, I really learned a lot from them. So it's great to surround yourself with smarter people. I think it's excellent. And the some things that it goes reverse. I mean, some people that you hire and they're really not good, you should really just learn to let them go as soon as possible. Not just because maybe I kind of am hopeful that people go through the same learning process. But especially if when you do business by yourself, you don't have time uh, to have people go through this process, because you're already ultra small. Only a big company can afford to hire somebody with little experience and make him grow. If you're a
Right.
small company, it's very hard. You have to just get somebody that is already productive. I think that's something I learned that I didn't know.
The hard
It's a
way.
bit naive, it's like the same way you give a chance to yourself, you want to give a chance to other people, but
Of
but
course.
you can't do it as a small entrepreneur, I think.
No, I can sympathize with that. And on that topic, if a young person wanted to enter the visual effects industry now as a designer, as a software engineer, perhaps as opposed to when you started, what advice would you have for them?
You would not like my answer. I will advise them not to enter this field.
Okay,
That would be
all
my
right.
advice. Because
AI?
also because, but I would have said it even 3 or 5 years ago. It's because, how do you say? Let me find a good. Well, basically, these CG artists, especially in the art style. I'm not, as I said, I'm a bit of a kind of a jack of all trades, so I don't fall into one category. But if you want to be a VFX artist, it means you go to work for a production company and you do shots. Shots is like a small sequence of a movie, like 5 seconds usually, where I don't know, there is an explosion or some water effect or whatever. Now there are hundreds and hundreds of shots, or even thousands in the same movie. But you're basically the CG artist is the commodity of the CG market. So you
Mm.
are commodity, and there is nothing special about you as an artist besides making pretty art, which, by the way, you pretty much have no control because it's all decided by the creatives and by the directors. And so it's not like you're gonna invent. You're mostly solving problems or like making a fluid simulation as realistic as possible, or an explosion as realistic as possible. But I think, and by the way, to do this stuff, the technology is incredibly advanced, and there is amazing stuff to learn. It's just sometimes I think it's such a waste of, all these smart people that are smart, that create these things. They should do something else, like, I don't know, biology or medicine or anything that is useful to human, because putting all this scientific effort into entertainment is kind of a waste. So I'm still trying to get out from this business. So by taking jobs that are related to something that at least have an impact in the world, that is not just entertainment. So my advice is, I mean, if you want to do this business, you better be super technical and do like programming around these tools, because at least you're not just commodity. If you are an artist, you are commodity. So I would suggest an artist to do pure art. And plus now, as you say, AI allows to, it's like, for example, it's a horrible time to be a photographer or an illustrator, especially on the still image logo maker or whatever that is. Still, it's very, very hard because the process of this AI, there's not really any intelligence. It's like statistic applied to image blending, and there is not much intelligence in that, but it allows somebody to quickly transfer an idea from words into visual, which, by the way, is something I'm 100% against, because you do not earn this skill, right? I mean, like, if you want to draw a horse and you just say it with a prompt, they give me the image of an horse, it's very different than the classical way. You lift your ass from the chair, go out, go to a farm, look at a horse with a piece of paper and a pencil and try to draw it. And the first horses will look terrible, right? And then you will get better at it. You bypass all this process and basically just talk, just type and get a result. And maybe you get 100 results and you pick the one that you like the most. And then you say, oh, this is my art. This is not your art. That's my point of view. That's why I think AI will make people absolutely more stupid than what they already are, which is quite an achievement.
Yeah, it's scary to think. Paolo, last question for you. From a professional development point of view, what's next for Paolo Durante?
What's next? That's a very good question. I have no idea. That's my answer.
Fair enough.
I didn't really change from this point of view. I don't really know what's next. It's very hard to say, but I'm trying, as I said, that I'm trying to apply our knowledge to other fields than computer graphics. We kind of succeeded almost twice in the past, and then something always happened. COVID was a big problem for us. But we tried to go into robotics, and now I'm trying to go into medical, because medical imaging uses a bunch of computer graphics techniques and analysis on data. So something that goes into a different, in a field like more useful to society. That's the direction I'm trying to go on to. For sure, there will be forces that pull me out of it, like we might do some other CG project, things like, I don't know. And the other thing that I basically spent the last 5 years is finance. That will stay. That for sure is gonna continue, keep me busy for at least half of the day, or yeah, 1/3 to half of the day. That mostly means investing, buying stocks, ETFs, mostly. And I do it in from the value investing perspective. So I don't trade on a daily basis. I trade on a weekly or monthly basis.
Fantastic. Paolo, thank you so much for coming on the show.
No problem. My pleasure.
Well, folks, That's the end of another episode. Thank you for listening. Stay cool, stay positive.